I know we all have seen so much Kpop Demon Hunter content lately, but I must say, I feel Mira is underrated. So to fix that, of course I have to make her into a doll. If you missed it in my last video, I showed pretty much my full process of how I sculpted her in Blender and matched everything as closely to the animation as I could. This is the result. First off, we need to take the rest of the body and paint everything in the correct skin tone. And yes, I'm using the bottom of an old rubbing alcohol container to mix the paint. You gotta recycle when you can, I guess. If you happen to be wondering, I print the majority of her body with filament, and then the smaller pieces that require a bit more detail with the resin printer. While her body is drying, I paint several layers of the same paint, this time with a bit more water, onto her face. When she's dry, I can go straight into blushing. I'm trying to give her that purplish pink eyeshadow, so I'm building up as much color as I can with chalk pastels. When I notice that the colors don't get any darker, I do a layer of Mr. Super Clear. Then I can go right back at it and layer things up. I'm not giving her any of my usual painted or 3D lashes, as you may have guessed, which is why I sculpted this little eyelash ridge over the top of her eye. Think of them as kind of like those annoying eyelashes you get in the Sims 4 base game. I'm not going too heavy with blushing on the actual skin tone because I'm trying to make it as accurate to the movie as possible. But I do add a bit of red blush around her cheeks so that she doesn't look completely lifeless. I'm also giving her some pretty simple eyebrows, making sure one is higher than the other to get the expression I'm going for. For her eyes, I made a slight indent while sculpting them to help me place her irises. It would have been a lot more helpful of my past self to make these indents a little deeper, but I managed to paint on these half-ish circles evenly enough on both of the eyes. You can see it here already, but back before I painted her face, I made a wig cap using my usual combination of fabric and wood glue. I should have done another layer of wood glue to make this wig a bit stiffer, but it's a bit too late for that now. At this point, it's pretty much safe to do the hair, but we'll get to that a little later. For now, let's make her look even more like herself. She doesn't have too many complicated clothes, so this should be a lot quicker compared to someone else we know. I'm starting off by making her undershirt, which I just made out of mesh fabric. This part was quite literally a simple tube top, so it was very easy. Moving on to her actual shirt, I'm going to use this black t-shirt fabric my mom was kind enough to let me steal from her stash. Don't worry, I'm sure she won't miss it at all. Like the undershirt, this is pretty much a basic pattern, just of course with a few more steps. The fun part is making the decoration. I used a print-on iron-on vinyl for the blue parts of the design. I didn't need to use a Cricut to cut it out because it was so small, so I just cut it out by hand. Unfortunately, the lettering was not as easy, and I really couldn't avoid using a Cricut. It cut out perfectly, but the problem was trying to weed everything out. I'm telling you, it's like the design team chose the most annoying letters on purpose. And I guess they definitely didn't really account for someone trying to make this on a small scale, because this took me over an hour to weed. I actually had to take everything apart and put it back together piece by piece. A total nightmare to say the least, but I'm just glad it worked out in the end. Speaking of nightmares, the only fabric I could find that will work for the skirt is this thick vinyl I used to cover my handmade sketchbooks. In case you missed the thick part, this stuff is thick. So making this type of skirt out of it was not the easiest. I make a pattern to help guide me with some masking tape, then cut the pieces I need out with a lot of extra seam allowance. I took one step at a time putting these pieces together and adding the extra stitch details as I went. I had to do most of this off camera because I didn't know what I was doing, and it's kind of hard to concentrate and film at the same time. Fortunately though, I was able to figure it out and make a decent skirt. It looks great from the front, and well, the back is a little rough, but we'll just make sure no one ever sees it ever again. Easy peasy. For her shoes, I print off some simple bases and make what's basically a sock out of this black fabric. I stitch the bottom of the sock over the shoe and make it look as neat as I can, though it's not perfect, so I'll have to go back and cover it with something else later. I paint and layer some more fabric on top for those pink and white patch details.
Like someone's listening. I see the signs when I seek for the lights. I know it's bad when I forget myself. Lately music's been my self-reminder.
For her hair, I was originally planning on using this yarn, but then I found these two hanks of pink hair in my stash. They kind of look like the same color here on camera, but I picked the brighter pink and start gluing it onto the wig cap.
We'll fix a melancholic heart. The music is the reason.
hair mousse and some heat to style the bangs. I had to, of course, again do this off camera because of the mess, but this is how it turned out. Okay, so this is where I accidentally started melting some stuff. I was painting her hands, everything was going well, but then it was time to paint those silver bits. I decided my best option was to use this stuff, which I love. But as I was pouring some into a smaller container, it spilled. I, of course, didn't think it was a big deal, so I slowly got up to go get something to clean the excess. But by the time I came back, it was already way too late and things were starting to bubble up. The hands turned out great, so I guess it was worth it. There's this little pink dangle thing coming out of one of her pockets, so of course I have to make that too. For this, I print out a little charm on my resin printer to get all those details. I painted hot pink and added a tassel on the end, which I made out of some thread. For her staff blade thing, I used a combination of pieces I printed out of filament and some that I printed out of resin. For the color parts with that iridescent kind of shift to it, I'm going to be using a very pretty combination of paint. And then for the gold bits, I'm going to be using my gold leaf. To seal everything in and keep it protected, I slap on some high gloss varnish. Now I can finally put her together and see how she looks.
Helpless, defeated, holding on to something I've needed. I'm looking for a reason, finding all you're wanting, a demon. Helpless, defeated, holding on to something I've needed. I'm looking for a reason, finding all you're wanting, a demon.
If you enjoyed this video, then you might not want to miss me making a giant mermaid by accident. Go ahead and check out that adventure here. Like always, thanks for watching, stay sweet, and I'll see you in the next video.